food alchemist, Willy Wonka during his freewheeling student days, culinary deviants. These are just a few things that the international press has called the food design partnership, Bompas and Parr. Sam Bompas and Harry Parr call themselves specialists in flavor-based experience design, but exactly what they do is nearly indefinable. It is clear that there are visionary creatives who know no limits. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sam Bompas of Bompas and Parr.
Hello, thank you very much. That's wonderful. Cheers. Okay, so this guy can probably go. Oh, that's a good place, actually. That's a good spot. Thank you very much. Cool, see you guys soon. Okay, right. I'm going to talk about gastronomy and design, and what design can do for gastronomy. When I was thinking about this, I wanted to really bring as much food and flavor and sensation into the experience as possible. Now, normally when I was doing something, I'd normally cook for everyone, but there are an awful lot of people here. So that was a little bit daunting with all 800 of you. But what I wanted to do was again, bring as much food just to demonstrate what it is that design can do for food. And my contention is that I don't think design can make food taste a lot better. What I think it can do, though, is help people see it in a different way, a spectacular way, and maybe a delightful way. And I think a lot of my talk is maybe a little bit frivolous, but considering some of the massive implications of the immigration, the housing, and all the sorts of things that you've been listening to. But I think it's also fun as well, and I think fun is important with food. So I think to start with a bang, which is always dead useful, what I was going to do is show how we've used design principles at Bompas and Parr to re-enchant food and help people rediscover it. One of the things we often do is lots and lots of research, and we found out that gherkins conduct electricity. Now, not being experts in electricity ourselves, you always call in the experts, and we thought that what we need to do is get an electrician, and they told us that a small gherkin draws about 300 watts of power, and a large gherkin draws about 500 watts of power. And we thought, well, knowing this, let's do something sort of really absurd with it. They make terrible light bulbs, really absurd and really dangerous, which is wire up as many gherkins as we could possible to make a gherkin chandelier. And you see the rather crude version there. I've got one gherkin left in here. So it doesn't make the gherkins taste any better, but it does get you to see them in a whole new light. Now, this gherkin chandelier draws enough power to power a city block or actually 2 electric chairs. It's incredibly dangerous. We thought about doing it today, but there's a real danger of death. So instead, I've made a traveling gherkin chandelier, which we're going to demo for you today. I think there's some power around the stage somewhere about the place. I just need to find it. And this is a good time as well with the camera too. Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, and actually if we could have the house lights down a little bit for this first thing, it's even better in darkness. We got it? Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to ask for you, the audience, to help me as well. So, what we'll do, if we could drop the house lights down a little bit, and then I'm going to ask all of you to count down from 3, and then we'll plug in the gherkin chandelier, the mini gherkin chandelier. This is great as well, because I can now see you. Okay. Got foreign plugs, it's very difficult. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so those of you in the front row should have a little bit of pickle juice as well. And it's a bit dangerous. But anyway, so that's the gherkin chandelier. I think now we've done that, now we've got that out of the way, we've got the waft of pickle floating in the auditorium, we can chuck into the main lecture. I can tell you a little bit about what the sorts of things we do at Bompas and Parr, and then what I'm aiming to do is over the next 16 minutes, give you all the secrets with culinary food and design that I've learned the hard way over the last 7.5 years. And it's a bit sad that I can fit it all into 16 minutes. But hopefully you'll go on and have the most enchanting dinner parties, wow your friends, and become the most popular hosts, knowing it all. So the sorts of things we do at Bompas and Parr are things like this on a massive scale. So this is the flavour fireworks for London New Year's Eve. In 2013, 2014, what we did was basically sent the air, so when red fireworks exploded in the sky, everyone tasted strawberries. There was also things like peach snow, banana confetti, which I've got some of here. I'll pass round. Here you go. You get to use and take one and pass it on. Actually, don't have more than one. If you have four, it kind of clogs up your mouth. It gets kind of disgusting. It's meant to be exploded over audiences who turn their mouths to the sky and that drops in. So we work on large-scale things. We do things like the Guinness Storehouse, which has 1.4 million people a year come through it. It's apparently the best place to taste Guinness in the world. It's in Ireland. But we work on small-scale projects that we do just for the love of it and the sheer joy of doing things with food. So this is alcoholic architecture. We spatialize a crowd of breathable gin and tonic, which intoxicated through the lungs and eyeballs, bypassing your liver. We've done things like making breast bouncy castles, so we work a little bit outside food now as well, but still very much with the body, because the body's important too. So this is for the New York Museum of Sex. If you're there, there's an exhibition with a breast bouncy castle. We found that one hadn't been made in the world, so it kind of had to happen. And we do things like cooking with lava. This is one of my favorite projects from last year. And again, we found in upstate New York, there was a maverick professor who was just melting down 1.1 billion-year-old basaltic rock and turning it into lava. And he was sort of doing it to study the volcanology of it. We phoned him up and said, "Have you ever cooked with it?" And he said no. So I immediately got on a plane and
the ultimate
had a
steak.
crack with
Forget
it.
about barbecue. A British chef has discovered that red-hot molten lava is really the only way to go. Using an artificial volcano, Sam Bompas figured out that when you cook steak over lava, there's no smoke, and since lava is pure heat, the meat seals very quickly with an even char. And as I've said in my many years of cooking, the best way to deal with meat is to add a level of unnecessary danger. Back to you guys.
So that was pretty exciting. I think the footage was taken by an 11-year-old boy. I was shooting it on my camera. The actual lens protector on my camera melted because of the heat. Everyone else was wearing protective gear except me and the 11-year-old. It was a bit awkward. But like his footage was amazing. So that got, I think when we put it online, within days it got 13 million views, which is pretty good. But anyway, so where it all starts out for us was jelly. And this will make sense when I talk about culinary philosophy and give you all the hot tips later on, because jelly has been the cruel taskmistress that we've learnt from. And I guess everything that we've known about food and design has come from jelly and the problems that we've had with it. So we started off 7.5 years ago. Harry Parr, my business partner, he's trained as an architect. He and I wanted to get a stall at London's foremost food market, Borough Market. We thought jelly would hold the key. We very quickly put together a business plan, logos, graphics, identities, bank accounts, websites, went to Borough Market, and they said, "No, this is a ridiculous idea." Despite that minor setback, we thought we really wanted to do it properly. And at the time, we didn't really know how to make jellies at all. In fact, we couldn't afford any of the molds. And this is when we turned to design as a useful tool to work in with food. So Harry Parr, being an architect, he used the sorts of techniques like CAD design, rapid prototyping, 3D printing, to design those molds that we really, really needed to start our jelly business. So it started to become useful. We found that when we did that as well, the food could look glorious. So you take a design like that, and you get a wonderful jelly like this. And there's still joy in jelly. I put it out on the table, and everyone smiles. It's what we've learned a lot from. We then really wanted to push ourselves, so we threw down the gauntlet. We said any architects can design a jelly in any which way they like, and we'll make it for them. And I think this was back in 2008, so architects at the time with the global economy didn't have, they had some spare time. And they used it. They got really involved with this whole project. It was brilliant. It was really, really good. So we had designs from all over the world, some more successful than others. So this was Lord Foster's wobbly bridge, which the bridge wobbled a bit too much, had to have extra engineering, and so did the jelly as well. We had to reinforce the whole thing with a splint in the middle. Rather more successful was, so that's Lord Foster's bridge, that's Roger Stark Harbour and Partners, Brackus Airport in Madrid, which they really understood. They really projected themselves beautifully into the jelly. It was all modular. And then because we had all these different designs, we thought we'd have a big banquet to really celebrate. And this is when we really started learning about how we should start approaching food. With this banquet, basically, because the jellies were quite small and we're calling it an architectural jelly banquet, everyone got the impression, and we're looking at stuff online, that they were going to step into these vast architectural jellies. They're going to romp through streets made of jelly, vast castles of jelly, and we knew that in actual fact the jellies were no more than this size. Which we put tickets online and sold 2,000 very, very quickly, at which point we started getting really, really worried. We thought we were going to be absolutely lynched by all these people that came, and we were incredibly disappointed. So this is when we started really trying to use all the senses, engage with all the senses, just as Charles Spence has been talking about earlier today, to give people a compelling experience. So in this instance, we had like the jellies are up there. We made them wobble a lot. We had a truck windscreen wiper engine underneath with a 5-kilo weight waggling about, making all the jellies wobble. We colored the whole place red. We had people surreptitiously walking around with spray cans, spraying strawberry essence about the place. And we also worked with scientists to use an anechoic chamber to record the world's first sound of jelly wobbling. I've got a clip for you here. The science is questionable, but when new scientists put it online, it became their most watched video ever, though most of the comments were absolutely disgusting. Questionable science, but there's joy in jelly, as we found. This is also one of the things we also had spoon dances. This is the time we learnt as well that there's certain rules with jelly, that no matter how highfalutin or how glamorous the audience is, it can start off really, really sort of fancy, but at 11 o'clock, all the jellies get thrown. And this is proved true all the way around the world. We had Heston Blumenthal there trying to give out the prize, the ultimate jelly architect, totally upstaged by the people, I have no idea who they were, who jumped into the jelly pit. And the thing that we also found out as well was about cleaning up after events. With these 2,000 people who'd never really done an event before, they had a right old laugh. It was a great project. And then at the end, it was just myself, Harry, and my parents, and an awful lot of mess. My parents don't help out on our projects anymore. We've then sort of gone on this sort of jelly odyssey as well. It's wonderful. If you just focus on one particular thing, the doors it opens up for you. So on the last year alone, we've done jellies on 5 different continents. Last night, I had events going live in Singapore, in London, and also here in Amsterdam. So there's jellies for weddings, jellies for funerals. Ends up in Australia's oldest funeral homes talking about jellies, which is weird. Jellies for massive events. Jellies gets you in all sorts of situations. For fashion shows, even for art shows. And so this is at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, where you have these glow-in-the-dark jellies. And apparently they had a show on design and the human body. And if you draw a line between the two, you get jelly. They asked us to make an artist statement, but we just had to say no, that the art has to speak for itself. Jellies exploding, and even we now know how to make really large jellies. That's the world's largest jelly. It's about 50 tons of it round a boat. But I think now, if we get into more details, it'd be good to expound on my culinary philosophy. And I think this really helps. And it's also based, I guess, on this dish, chicken a la king. Now, for me, chicken a la king is an important dish. It was used by Professor John Edwards from Surrey University. And what he did was he took it and he put it in loads of different sort of dining contexts. So he put it in fine dining, really salubrious French restaurant. He put it in a sort of old people's home. He put it in an army recruitment barracks. And he found that the more salubrious the environment, the better it tasted. So, in the sort of fine dining French restaurant, it was like tasty, delicious, moist, ultimately very rewarding. And in the army barracks, it was like claggy, dry, and disgusting. And so we use this sort of principle that if you change the environment, you can really change people's understanding of food to great effect. I think the first catering job we ever did, which we were really nervous about, was this. And we actually ran out of time on all the catering, so we had to pop down to Tesco's, the local supermarket. It's a 12-course Victorian breakfast with 4,000 calories. Have to pop down to the supermarket after we're cooking at 4 a.m. the night before and get their sort of own-cooked scones for it. But people didn't really mind because the environment was wonderful around them. And I think the thing is as well is that people's sense of taste is very, very different. So 10% of people can't actually taste the things that make truffles really unique and delicious. I think I'm one of them because when I have the truffles, it's I'm not really overwhelmed by them. But people are incredibly visual though. And so what we try and do is use the visual senses and the other senses as a key in for people to understand their sense of taste. That's not to say the food shouldn't be important, but if you eat in a place looking like this, it doesn't really matter what you feed people, it's going to look awesome. So our approach now is very much Gesamtkunstwerk, or totally sensory assault. So basically what we try and do is just overload people, overwhelm them with sensory stimulus in any way we can. And so this is a project that's quite useful to illustrate it. It was the Mercedes drive-through. Mercedes was doing an art program. They came to us. They said, we want you to do an art project. We said, well, you make cars, we do food. Drive-through seems pretty obvious, but let's do it in a spectacular way. So we made it super visual by giving us 50-meter light installation over a 50-meter stretch of marble. We addressed the sense of smell by having this compelling sort of sense dangling from the rearview mirror, the sense of sound. But also with all of that, with multi-sensory design, it also gets me at the moment that there's this trope in sort of advertising, talk about designing in a very multi-sensory, immersive way, where of course the entire world is immersive and multi-sensory. And so what we always need to do is like layer on top of that sort of creativity, which you can't even stipulate for. So things like roller girls with light-up roller skates, and these wonderful bodybuilders versus fast food who are hanging behind the bar and sort of terrifying people. I guess our total theory now, which to take away, is if you choreograph the right sort of narrative and overlay it onto that sensory design, then you can give people a really compelling experience. And I guess where this all starts for me is this chemical, which I became obsessed with. This is my favorite chemical in the world, absolutely. And it's used by the Chicago Guild of Plumbers each year to dye the Chicago green for St. Patrick's Day. They keep it a deadly, closely guarded secret, but I've got American relatives, they got a vial of it, and they sent it across to me, and I sent it off to the UK's top dye specialist, dyes.co.uk. And they very quickly said, oh, it's very easy, that stuff is just fluorescein. And it is really rather wonderful. So a single drop of it, here, I can get it open. It's pretty aggressive stuff. Actually, I don't even need to get it open. I just dip the external bit of the bottle in, and the residue, you see it does that. So that's just the drops around the outside. And we've got about 100 litres of it in our studio. So the temptation is when we go out at night to skip down to the Thames and sort of like splash it all in, have people waking up with that in the morning. But I guess our sort of approach really very much breaks down into sort of 6 segments. And when you apply those to sort of a journey, whether it's a meal or a bigger installation, it makes for a compelling experience. So the first is anticipation, getting people really excited before they get there. Second is compression. So this is a voyage of discovery. This is when we flooded the roof of Selfridges to make a boating lake and float up bar and dyed it emerald green. Second is compression. So having a sense of corridors which start sort of focusing people's minds on what they're going to have and taking them out of the humdrum life and getting them ready for what's ultimately a grand reveal. And so I like it when there's a grand reveal, explosion of light, people's pupils have to contract so quickly that it actually hurts. And then the next bit, which is really important for me, is always having some risk involved as well. So in the case of this, the risk was getting into these puny boats, which pretty much almost always capsized if you weren't very, very careful, and people coming very elegantly on dates were a little bit worried. So the risk is really super important. But then with the risk, and we made people go through this sort of waterfall as well. I had staff in there with spears that kind of jab people a bit and hold them under so they couldn't escape. and get wet. And then after that, the reward's really key. And the reward with food is very simple to do. Because if you give people things like cocktails or foods laden with sugar, fat, and salt, it's always really compelling. And then finally, we always try and build in a sense of reflection as well, or an area where people can reflect on the experience that they've had. And I always find that helps. And we did finally manage to dye a river green as well, which is great. So final thought as well. This is a tad dangerous as well, so you have to bear with me. We are going to make our very own cloud. Has the taxi arrived from the airport? Does anyone know? So it was kind of, we did a big event last night, so my team have been in all sort of corners of Amsterdam, and one of them was going back to the airport, and they took all the ingredients for this. So it might be a banana cloud, or we might have to improvise, and it'll be a more interesting cloud. So maybe it hasn't arrived from the airport. Okay, Audrey and Charlotte, let's bring on the boiler. Yeah, and let's bring on the cardboard. Ah, we've got the mats as well. Even better. Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to make for you a flavored cloud. And because the banana cloud is somewhere between here and London at the moment, it's been quite an exciting race against time all the way through. We are going to make our very own gherkin cloud, because that's what I've got on stage with me. So you might hold your nose, but hopefully it's something that you haven't seen before. And I guess, sorry, there is a reason we're doing this as well, I should say. And actually, it's just with all the design, we've seen a lot of very important design that needs to happen, but design can be fun as well. And we're interested in food and fun and giving people the most joyous days and meals out in their life. And it's basically just using this as an excuse to do this, which is really great. So let's pop this in the middle. That one first. So this is really simple. What we're going to do is we've got a load of boiling water in there, and we're going to scent this using our pickle juice. I've never tried this before, so it might work, it might not. And then we're going to use some liquid nitrogen in here. And we're going to introduce the two together, and we're going to see what happens. Okay. Charlotte, could you give me a hand with that other side, please? Okay. How much? Is that enough? A bit more? That's probably okay. Oh no, we can definitely do more, come on. Okay, that's probably way too much. Great. Okay, so again, I'd ask you to count down from 3, and then we'll give it a whirl. Actually, no, I actually really want more, sorry.
Disappearing as well.
Okay, let's go. There you go, you ready? Yeah. Don't worry about that. Okay, there you go. Now that is actually loads. Okay, so count down from 3, and we'll give it a whirl for a grand finale. So 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much.
It's a kind of magic.
Can you smell the pickles?
It's a kind of magic.
Good. So time for questions?
Thank you so
my
much.
heart's racing.
Yeah, you got your heart racing. So this is what you planned, actually, like this. Is this what's supposed to happen?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Okay,
That's
okay.
pretty good.
Okay,
I'm quite pleased with that.
So, I mean, you obviously have a million of crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought that something wasn't possible?
No.
No.
There's always a way to do something, as long as you're able to muster like the right idea, the right audience, the right budget. and then you can make it happen. There are a few things that we've tried really hard to do
Okay, so
that haven't quite happened yet, but
Okay.
we're just looking for the right
yeah, okay.
opportunity.
So what is on your wish list? I would like to
Okay,
know.
so one of them is I'm really keen on bringing an iceberg from Newfoundland to New York, and then chopping it up to make cocktails. And
What about
people are worried about the environment with this,
Yes.
but actually it's good for the environment. This is over 1,000 times more energy efficient than using a conventional ice maker to make that much ice. The only problem is it's a little bit expensive. And though they do move icebergs all the time, so you use super tugs to drag them around, and sometimes they endanger shipping lanes, they endanger oil platforms, they have to move them. They're very expensive to hire. So we found out that it's going to cost between about £2 and £10 million to do.
Well, yeah,
But
that's
one day, well, I'm
One day,
hoping,
yeah.
we'll muster it up. It'll be a very good TV show.
And another one?
Well, one of the things I'm really keen on doing, which I'm a bit obsessed by, was we did the, when we did the cooking with lava, that was just for a small audience, such as about 30 people. And we've worked out how to do it for 500 people, this epic lava banquet, pieces of mega furniture being cooked, being cast in front of you with the lava, and then everyone cooking off it as well. And again, a little bit dangerous, but we're quite into health and safety. But we've not quite made that happen yet.
But
There will be a time, though. With all these things, you just
course.
keep on pushing, and it happens.
in the meantime, you are obviously a big company. How many people work for you in the team?
It's not a big company.
No?
It's there are 13 people full time.
30 people.
13.
13. Okay,
13,
right,
not
all right.
three.
Yeah.
And they're all marvelous. So it's,
And
they've
they
all
have
gone.
nice bodies as well.
Oh yeah. Yes, of course. It's very important.
One more thing, if people have the opportunity
Yeah.
to see some of your work at the Stedelijk Museum, because there's this exhibition of 5 years what design can do, and I think there's an installation of Bompas and Parr there.
Yes.
So what can they expect?
So last night we launched the installation. It's based on a bit of science history, which is Kepler created this planetary bar, which was uniting the cosmos, music, geometry, astronomy, all of these things together. But it was basically, he was trying to get his patron to fill it up with booze for an epic party. Sadly, it never happened, so we found out about that, and we made it happen last night at the Stedelijk Museum, which
Okay.
is great. And
What happened with the booze?
I think it's all been drunk. But there are artifacts left, so you go and see the ruins and the waste of an epic party, and get to contemplate what fun we had.
Okay, so what's the next project that you're going to work on?
I'm looking at the interrelationship between food and magic.
Food and magic, that sounds perfect. Well, thank you very much for your stunning talk. Sam Bompas, thank you.
Thank you.